Good afternoon. Today's Battle Rhythm, Innovative Ways to Create Veteran Support Groups, will be hosted by Jeanette Gillis. Jeanette is the director of the network at America's Warrior Partnership. The network provides local veteran serving organizations with a connection to national resources when a veteran's request cannot be met locally. To find out more, please visit America's Warrior Partnership / the network. That's it for me. Jeanette, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Allison. I would like to also welcome all of you to our January 11th, 2022 Battle Rhythm. I'd like to welcome all of our affiliate communities, our 4-Star Alliance members, veteran service organizations, and other guests that have joined us this afternoon. Today, we're excited to have some subject matter experts on innovative ways to create peer support groups from the Wounded Warrior Project. Feeling connected is a known strategy for suicide prevention. Peer support groups provide that connectiveness and also provide veterans with a sense of camaraderie that they enjoy during their time in service. Wounded Warrior Project is a known leader for engaging veterans in peer support groups, so this will be an interesting and informative battle rhythm. Please join me today in welcoming our special guests. First, we have Jackie Green. Jackie is the manager of WWP's Peer Leader and Gaming Team. Natalie Wooley is a member of the gaming and engagement specialist. And Alejandro Salazar is a Wounded Warrior Project peer leader trainer. After some learning from our presenters, we're going to go directly into the breakout rooms for more discussions on our topic. And our session today will conclude at 3:15. So we have an action-packed time for you. And right now, I'm going to turn this over to Jackie to get us going. So thank you all, Jackie, Natalie, and Alejandro, for the presentation that you're going to give us. Jackie?
All right, thank you so much, Jeanette, Allison, everyone on the line today. It is a pleasure to meet you. My name is Jackie Green. I am the peer leader manager for our peer support groups, our warrior volunteer opportunities, as well as our gaming program, which is our newest initiative here at Wounded Warrior Project. For about a year ago, we invested in bringing in gaming as a form of rehabilitation, respite, and just a way to connect with other warriors throughout the community. Our mission here at Wounded Warrior Project is to honor and empower our wounded warriors. And there are a number of ways that we at Wounded Warrior Project are doing this. We have 19 core programs that we work with every day throughout all 50 states to ensure that we are leveraging that continuum of support for our warriors. 19 core programs that we have at Wounded Warrior Project. And within those 19, there is a huge focus on connection and engagement of our wounded warriors and their families. I think a common misconception that you'll find at Wounded Warrior Project, and what we hear oftentimes, is that I have to be wounded in combat. I have to have an amputation or a burn or a traumatic brain injury in order to be eligible for our programs and services. But when we look at who can use Wounded Warrior Project, and of the 170,000 warriors that are enrolled within the organization, 90% of those are not combat-related injuries that we have. Individuals that are eligible obviously have to have a service-connected injury after September 11th, 2001. But those injuries could be related to a training accident. Perhaps you were injured in a motor vehicle accident as a reservist or guards member driving to drill. Perhaps you slipped and fell, had a broken leg, and received and sustained an injury requiring rehab and treatment while you were serving. If there is a military sexual trauma, these type of things allow you to be eligible for Wounded Warrior Project as long as you sustain that injury after September 11th, 2001. I always like to put that information out there because it is important as you have individuals, veterans, who want to receive treatment, who want to receive care, to let them know that they are eligible. Now, of the programs and services that we do have, specifically within our team here at Wounded Warrior Project, Peer support, obviously, it's one of my favorite. It's near and dear to our heart, and it's the one that we manage and oversee. So to date, there are over 103 peer support groups that we have nationwide, from Alaska, Puerto Rico, Maine, and everywhere in between, even the Dakotas. If you are from North Dakota, South Dakota, the love is there and represented for each of you. But of the 103 peer support groups that we do have, 17 of those are specifically addressing our women warrior veterans. We also have 3 specific peer support groups that are Spanish speaking in nature. And we also have groups that are on the island of Puerto Rico. And so we have found over the years, especially within the past 3 years, to ensure that we are meeting the needs of our warriors where they are, knowing that our women warriors have distinct needs within this veteran community. We have ensured that we will continue to have a presence within the women peer support group. So we hit on the 103 peer support groups that we have nationwide. But there are 3 distinct volunteer opportunities that Wounded Warrior Project has focused on. And when we look at volunteer opportunities, this is specifically for our warriors, where we're harnessing that peer-to-peer volunteer engagement. And so looking at what are the specific needs of our warriors, every year we conduct the nation's largest veteran survey to specifically identify what are the needs within the veteran community, how we can we ensure that we are meeting the demands of those that are recovering and going through a lifelong road of skills that they need to harness after getting out of the military, or if they're still in, what can we do to augment those services and support? And we found within the 3 volunteer opportunities that we do have, 1 directly supports peer support groups. Our second is on giving back to those within their respective communities, and we have peer-to-peer led events called warrior-led events. And then lastly, we have a new program and initiative that is training our warriors how to be gaming volunteers. You can specifically see our laid out plan of our volunteer-led and peer-led veteran volunteer opportunities. So specifically for our gaming volunteers, they are going out, and Natalie is going to talk to you a little bit more in today's brief about those gaming volunteer opportunities. But it could be veterans going virtually online and playing, whether it's Madden, it could be an NFL type opportunity, it could be a pinball tournament. If your jam is Dungeons and Dragons, these are the opportunities. We get it. Not everybody is a gamer, but for those of you that are gamers, this is probably like ringing bells and you're super excited. But we have a very small cohort of gaming volunteers that are going out and giving back. Oftentimes, if you've served, I myself am a veteran, and Alejandro is a veteran as well from the Marine Corps. Natalie is a spouse of a Marine Corps veteran as well. And so if you are out in the field at any training opportunity, if you're deployed, gaming is at the core of relaxation and respite. It takes you to an alternate place. Alejandro is nodding. He is like vibing with that. He knows that is true. He probably was out there playing Call of Duty or Halo. But gaming is a way that you can connect, whether it's online with your family members. And if you want to have cool brownie points with your kids, whether they're teenagers, young adults, or within that 8-year-old realm, like my son, this will give you legitimate cool parent points. So again, we encourage you to figure out and learn more about Wounded Warrior Project Gaming, but through our volunteers, we've been able to reach areas that we haven't traditionally done. For our warrior-led events, again, the biggest need that we saw within our warriors, within our 170,000 veteran population that we serve, is that they were looking for ways to give back, in particular to their communities. And through our peer-to-peer training programs, we've leveraged a way to train veterans to give back within their community, to host structured events on behalf of Wounded Warrior Project. And then lastly, going into our peer support groups, this is an incredibly exciting program that we've offered for the past 10 years. We've watched it grow year after year. And Alejandro is going to dig deeper into how we vet veterans, how we continue to keep those volunteers engaged, and what are some of the tools and best practices that we use to ensure that when you have a peer support group, you're doing it the right way. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to my counterpart, Alejandro Salazar. He is a modest, humble individual who's been with the organization for 7 years. I mentioned that he is a prior Marine, just an all-around great person. So if you have questions that are very hard-hitting, ask him, not me, and he will take it away to give you more insight as to the role of our peer support group leaders. So Alejandro, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Jackie. I appreciate it. My name is Alejandro Salazar. I am a peer leader trainer for Wounded Warrior Project. So when we say peer leader, you'll hear that a lot through our presentation. Peer leaders is basically synonymous with volunteer. It's what we call our volunteers. It's the big umbrella, right? So under that umbrella, we have our 3 roles of peer leaders. That's the gaming volunteer, peer support group leader, and then the warrior leader. So we have a dedicated role within Wounded Warrior Project that's called a peer leader specialist. It's the single point of contact for our peer leaders, for our volunteers. So they're the ones that do the vetting, the selection, and then pass them to us to do the training for those warriors that have been around, that they have been nominated to be volunteers with us. What do they look for when they're looking for peer leaders? Obviously, one of the biggest things is registered with us as an alumnus. They're a member of Wounded Warrior Project. They've been around a while. One thing we stress during our trainings, our initial trainings, is being able to share their stories. You know, you can talk to them, you can talk to people in the community about data and numbers and statistics, but really personal stories are what are going to carry the most weight. So we look for warriors that have been around, have used our programs and services, so that they can talk about their personal stories about how Wounded Warrior Project has helped them in their road to recovery. So when we say that's the first bullet there, registered, experienced. So we're looking for warriors that are experienced with not just our connection program, but also some of our other programs that Jackie touched on earlier. If they've used our benefits program, if they've used our resume writing services that's provided through our Warriors to Work program. That way they're able to tell about not just their connection story, but also how Wounded Warrior Project has helped them in other aspects in their lives. Those are things that we're looking for when we do our selection and vetting process, where we start the vetting and selection process. We look for warriors that are in a good place, that are a little farther along in their warrior journey, are in a place to give back and want to give back. Once that's done, once we've identified them, we have a vetting and selection process that our peer leader specialists go through. The first step is an application, simple application, 1-page questionnaire that's sent to the warriors that are interested in volunteering, kind of getting some feedback about where they are in their lives, what kind of roadblocks there may be to volunteering. We want to know that they're in a good place, not just physically and mentally, but also family-wise, if they have the support of their family to be volunteering, if they have school requirements that may prohibit volunteering, just kind of a good general sense of where they're at. Our peer leader specialists will then take those applications. Once there's a need in a specific area, for whether a peer support group or if they want to do more events out there because we can't reach those areas, then they'll go through those applications and do a screening form. It's a little more in-depth sit-down conversation that our peer leader specialists will have with our volunteer or prospective volunteers to kind of see where they're at, see what they want to do, what ideas they may have for their areas. Because it's so regional, but when we do our selections, we understand that these volunteers or prospective volunteers are the leaders in their areas. They have their ear to the streets. They know what's going on. They know what's going to get warriors out of their houses and volunteering and joining us at our events. So we want to kind of pick their brains and see what kind of ideas they have. Once that selection process is completed, they will sign up with us for a training event that we do three to 4 times a year. It's a basic training that we'll discuss here momentarily. But before they do that, they have to go through a background check. We just want to make sure that they have a basic background check completed. We're looking for big things, nothing little. We understand that being warriors and having struggled a little bit in their past life, there may be some speed bumps that they have, had to go through in their warrior journey. But we're just looking for really big things that would affect the Wounded Warrior Project as a whole. But that's just a requirement that we have them go through a background check. Then we have them do an orientation. It's a virtual orientation where we discuss big picture about the roles, what roles they're going to be doing, the time commitment, as well as what we're going to be expecting from them, sort of code of conduct wise. This gives them an opportunity to see what they're getting into before they get to training. If it's something they're really not interested in, it gives them an opportunity to back out without having spent too much time, too much of our donor dollars, getting them trained up just for them to go back to their areas and not volunteer. We want to make sure that they understand what they're getting into, and that virtual opportunity, that virtual orientation gives them an opportunity to understand, what kind of requirements we're going to ask of them. That takes us to training. We have a 4-day training that we put on 3 to 4 times a year. It's 2 days immersive training where we talk about code of conduct. We talk about our programs and services in depth. We don't want them to be subject matter experts about our other programs. We just want them to have a good understanding of what the programs are, so that they can talk to other warriors at their events, at their peer support groups, and then provide those good, meaty referrals to our staff, their peer leader specialists. So we talk about our programs in depth, and then we go into more of the planning and facilitating of events of their peer support groups, what they can expect when they get back to their areas, when it comes time to schedule and facilitate these peer support groups and warrior-led events. We also talk about, we go through scenarios, things that they might expect to see when dealing with this very important population that we serve, but give them a well-rounded basic training so that when they get out to their regions, they're ready to go, they're ready to volunteer, they're ready to facilitate peer support groups or lead events with their local peer leader specialists helping them out. All right, let's talk specifically about the peer support group leader and what we ask of them. So we do ask a 2-year term of service. We understand that there are times where they need to back out, things come up, family issues, but we do start off with the minimum 2-year term of service. Again, it's all about getting investment in them, making sure that they understand that we're putting a lot of time and effort into them, and we really want to keep them around for the long term. It doesn't mean that at 2 years we stop and cut them off as volunteers. It's just an opportunity for them to understand that this is the basic requirements that we're going to ask initially. Per year, we ask them to, for the peer support groups, it's a monthly group. We ask them to schedule it out at the same time, if you will, every month. So first Tuesday at 6 o'clock, just so that it's very scheduled and methodical. So that way the warriors in their regions that are participating, they know when they can expect to attend the next meeting. They know when the meetings are 3-4 months down the road. That way they can plan. It's something for them to look forward to. And it's really helpful when it comes time to scheduling for those warriors to get time off to go participate and be part of that group. We also have them, if they like, we ask them to do a quarterly event. It's an event every quarter that kind of takes them away from the peer support group. They do something fun, whether it's bowling, whether it's archery, something away from the the meeting space, so that they can do something a little more active. It's not very peer support group oriented, but it gives them an opportunity to hang out, mingle. There's opportunities where they can bring their spouses, so their spouses can understand what these peer support groups are all about, but they're not actually sitting in meetings and participating that way. They get that sense of camaraderie and what their husbands, wives, partners may be going to every month without actually attending a meeting and disrupting that flow, if you will. We also ask them to participate in annual feedback. They are evaluated on a yearly basis. Our peer leader specialists sit down with them, kind of go over, we call it an eval, but it's really more just a feedback session. Hey, this is what's going well this year. This is what we can improve for the following year. It gives them an opportunity to speak up as far as where they see themselves in the volunteer role for the coming year. We try to do that at the end of every calendar year, so that way they can sit down with their peer leader specialists, talk about what's coming up, what they have to look forward to, but also give them the opportunity to share any ideas that they may have to improve their peer support group. Any questions? I saw some jump in the chat, but I want to be able to answer any questions as we go along. No? All right. So one thing we like to talk about at our trainings, our initial trainings, when we sit our group leaders down and talk to them about what they can expect, is always that the group has the answer. They're not there to dictate what everybody is going to do. They're there to provide the facilitation piece, to get the conversation going, to not really guide, and guide's not the right question, but they're there to help guide the conversation, get everybody participating, let everybody feel like they're part of the group. So when we tell them that the group has the answer, if there's ever any questions or there's things that come up that they want to change, we don't make the decision as staff. The group leader doesn't make the decision as staff. We always put it on the group itself. Like, hey, you have the answer. This group is about what you all make of it. So you guys and gals come up with that answer and provide it, and you come up with how we're gonna move forward. That being said, there are groups that we have that are basically book clubs where they meet up every month. They have a book that's provided at no cost. They sit every month and they talk about whatever chapters were assigned, but it gives them an opportunity to have some homework, but still have that communication between them, where they have discussions throughout the month and meet with each other, mostly virtually, and then participate in that way. Again, the group has the answer about what that group becomes and what they do moving forward. That's one of the things we really touch on and harp on during our trainings when we have these prospective new group leaders getting ready to open up and start new groups. We always tell them a good best practice is to have some ground rules. And again, the group has the answers, right? You don't start the training session with these are the ground rules. You get everybody to participate. You get the group that's there to provide those answers. What are the ground rules for today's session? Let's start there. Well, what do you all want to talk about? Where do we need to start? Again, getting that initial conversation flowing and everybody participating in that way. One thing we'd love to cover at our training as well, our initial trainings, is establishing boundaries. One of the things that we focus on is, or understand, is that it can be overwhelming when you're dealing with this population of veterans, as a veteran yourself, right? So establishing those boundaries initially and letting your group know, like, hey, I won't be answering calls after 9 o'clock or on the weekends. That's important for these group leaders. Again, they're not hired staff, they're just volunteering their time. And we want to make sure that we take care of them so that they're here volunteering with us for the long haul. So we talk about boundaries and ways to self-care so that they can take care of themselves. Again, these are warriors that have gone through a lot, but I say this every training. If I ask them to do something, no matter what they have going on, no matter how much is on their plate, they will always say yes. So we want to make sure that they understand that, hey, we're here for you. We want to protect you and your time. Boundaries and self-care is very important. We don't want them taking on too much because then again, that becomes overwhelming, and then we may lose some of our volunteer force that way. So we harp on those boundaries and self-care. And that's why, if backtracking a little bit, we always ask that our volunteers and our peer leader specialists, they only have our volunteers do one role at a time. If they're peer support group leaders, they only do peer support groups and facilitate those. If they're warrior leaders, they only facilitate warrior-led events, because it can become overwhelming and we don't want them to do too much to the point that they're falling out and they may have to step back from the role. We want to take care of our volunteers. We want to keep them as volunteers as long as possible because they're making huge impacts in their local communities through our programs and services. and they're doing a lot for the local veterans in their areas. And then this is just a quick topic ideas there, a visual of some of the ideas we give them for topics for their peer support group. So these are just some of the things they can use as starting points, really starting points for their conversations when they start. But again, the group has the answer. If the topic of the day is service animals, but somebody really wants to talk about communication that day, you know, the group has the answers. They flow with it. It's all about our group leaders facilitating those conversations and keeping everybody on task and on point without it getting too out of control. So just good ideas as far as starting points. Any questions?
Alejandro, you were doing good. No questions came up in the chat, but I think
Awesome.
Some of those best practices that you mentioned, definitely we will give many of you that are on the line the opportunity to talk one-on-one with Alejandro in the breakout session. We can share more about some of our specific topics of instruction during training for our new volunteers and our existing volunteers. And absolutely, will the slides be sent out? Yes, we encourage it, because hopefully you won't have any technical issues when you open it on your end, like we did at the start of today's briefing. So as Alejandro mentioned, some of our topics of instruction, our ideas, sometimes the thought of going to a peer support group can be daunting. For some of our warriors, it's that self-identification that we need support, we need help, and perhaps they're not ready to do that. So one of the ways that we've really tried to think outside of the box and meet warriors where they are is through combining their passion of gaming, ding, 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 this is where Natalie's going to come in, and also infuse ways that we can integrate some of our programs and services in a natural setting and conversation. So as an icebreaker, if you will, this is how gaming helps us connect with warriors and family members. And I'm excited to now introduce Natalie, who is the spouse of a Marine Corps veteran. She has given back within the military community for the past 15 years, serving in a variety of roles, from the far reaches of Okinawa back here to the United States, where she's currently residing in Richmond, Virginia. And so if you have any questions about gaming, she is your go-to. She can get into specifics or keep it as kind of high level and talk about Game Boys and Tetris and Duck Hunt from the 80s. So without further ado, Natalie, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about gaming.
Thank you so much, Jackie. So gaming, right? So as Jackie said, innovation is something that is woven through our organization as a whole, and all of the things that we do. So we identified that we needed to meet warriors where they are, and gaming was it. So what we're trying to do is break that stigma with gaming, that it is a completely solitary and sedentary activity, and really flip that on its head and show that it is truly a social activity where you can find connection that you might not otherwise have experienced. Many of our warriors that are a part of our gaming community they live in rural areas where they might not necessarily have access to other, in-person events or in-person support groups, or they have social anxiety where they're maybe not comfortable in doing these in-person things. But having that buffer of a screen allows them to open up and truly start to heal through conversation and connecting with people that have shared experiences. So like Alejandro and Jackie have said before, that if a lot of the peer-to-peer connection is really what is driving people to, seek maybe assistance and engagement in ways that they haven't. Because what we've noticed here with Wounded Warrior Project is a lot of the people coming in have come in through the nudging or the suggestion of peers. So that's why this is so critical in creating a different aspect that we can engage with them. So what we're doing in the gaming sphere, it far reaches almost all of the programs that we have here in Wounded Warrior Project. But as it relates to peer-to-peer, what we're doing is a couple different things. So one of the biggest things that we're doing is our Women Warrior Gaming Initiative. So much like Wounded Warrior does have a Women Veteran Initiative, we have mirrored that over into the gaming space. And so I'm going to jump a little bit ahead to kind of, because it's interwoven. If you see Discord, a lot of people may not be very familiar with Discord. And what Discord is it is basically the hub of our connection and engagement for our veteran community here within Wounded Warrior Project. And so it's not just pigeonholed to our veterans. We do allow outside entities as far as WWP supporters or streamers, but please know we lock that down and we protect ferociously the integrity of our veterans. So you all have to have certain accesses granted to you by a verification process in order to fully access. So we have everything from chat channels. Think Discord is synonymous with old school Yahoo chat rooms. We have text channels and we have voice channels, and we even have the capability to have video. So really it's kind of like a Zoom all in one, but with different topics that we go into. And so through that, we then have our Women Warrior Gaming Initiative. So we have identified that our women veterans have a very specific need and experiences that might not necessarily be the same as their male counterparts. So we provide, and it's not a peer support group, it's more like an unofficial support system that is manned normal business hours by staff, but we also have the opportunity to have an outside company monitor for any trigger words or should somebody be in crisis that we can respond. So they work as a crisis response team. So really, we do have eyes on our channel 24/7. So we have private women chats where they can feel free to have conversations, you know, with women they may have met in person, may have attended a support group with, or maybe just, you know, want somebody to talk to. And it has, you know, elicited an ongoing, you know, ongoing relationship with these warriors who have found solace in this private channel where they feel that comfort. The other thing that we do to provide our peer-to-peer connection would be through conventions, expos, and tournaments. And so what we do is we, you know, attend these large-scale events for not just awareness for Wounded Warrior Project as a whole and Wounded Warrior Project Gaming, but we provide opportunities for warriors to come together with their family, to come together with other veterans and share in that common experience. So we did talk about Discord as well. And when I say I want you to know that Discord is not just about gaming either. There are channels in there for people to talk about physical health and wellness, pets, art, cooking. There's something for everybody. It is just a source of connection and engagement. And then lastly, what we're doing is through our online events. So much like we do here, we do a whole host of different online events. We've done trivia nights. We have done, during the holidays, we've done a Super Mario gingerbread building event. We've done mobile gaming, right? So gaming doesn't have to be on a console or a PC. You can engage in gaming as well as that peer-to-peer connection with the simple phone, internet browser tab, or an iPad. And you don't have to have that expensive setup to just be a part of the community. And I think that is one of the big things that we are trying to put out there, is that there is this vast community of people from all over the world, right? We have veterans that are located in Thailand or Romania that come into our Discord to talk because their spouse is still active duty and they've retired and they still want to maintain connection. So it's really a unique opportunity, and we are still growing because we are a fairly new initiative. And so, you know, there are great ways to utilize gaming to connect and engage, and through our volunteers as well. Because like we said, that peer-to-peer connection, sometimes you understand, I'm a spouse. I only understand to a certain capacity, but I never lived that life, you know, overseas or lived that experience. So when you have that peer-to-peer connection, it's only going to amplify and have that support system. And that's it for me. I look forward to seeing you guys in the breakout room.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Natalie. For those of you that are interested in gaming, I highly encourage you reach back out to myself, specifically to Natalie. We are more than happy to do a Discord 101. But if you have veterans or family members, or even just yourself, that potentially is interested in learning more, this is a community that is open to everyone, and is a great way to kind of get an introduction on what's going on within all different areas and realms. If you like puppies, you can go here. If you like to eat food, I love food. This is a great place for me to go to as well. And also to get, obviously, that veteran to veteran connection. But with that, Jeanette, I believe we are open for questions. The floor goes back to you.
Thank you so much, Jackie. I'd also like to thank Natalie and Alejandro for a great presentation. Actually, I don't know that we have any questions. Let me double check, make sure really quickly. I think that our next agenda item is to go into the breakout rooms, where we'll have more discussion and perhaps the chance to really engage with individuals and answer questions more directly there. So since I don't really see any questions that we need to answer right now, I'm going to turn it over to Allison to get us started with our breakout activity.
Hi, everybody. I'm here. Thank you so much, Jeanette. Yes, today's topics are gaming groups, best practices, and also volunteer engagement. In a few minutes, I'm going to open the breakout groups, and you'll be able to select which ones you want to be in. So the topic 1, gaming groups, and topic 2, best practice, and topic 3, volunteer engagement. In order to save time and have as much possible discussion as we can, when you get into the room, just introduce yourself and your organization's name, like I'm Allison Williams from America's Warrior Partnership, so we can have a lot more time to really talk and discuss. Remember, this is a discussion, and the leads in the groups, which will be Jackie, Natalie, and Alejandro. Yes, I'm not going to say your name correctly, so I'm just going to skip it. They are going to be just the leads. And so when we come back together, we want to hear a key point from each group. And so we will begin our breakouts. Thank you all for participating in advance. Welcome back, everybody. Yay. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming back. I appreciate you all sharing with your information with each other. So we're going to go ahead and hear our key takeaways about from topic 1, gaming group. So who would like to tell us their key takeaways? Natalie, I can't hear you.
So I will go ahead. Or Kenneth, okay. Would you like to go ahead and share? Please.
Either one, we can do both. I'll just put one point out. I mean, I think overall we were talking about how the gaming, it pretty much hits on every aspect of life for the veteran, whether it's communication, it's empathy, sympathy, all that encompasses, the gaming. It helps them, and it helps them be better in those categories by just opening up, talking to other veterans, couples, and just overall how it's helping their life overall, holistic, pretty much a holistic viewpoint of helping the veterans from the gaming aspect.
Ooh, that sounds interesting. Sounds like I had a really good talk. Yeah.
Yeah, lots of meeting the warriors, just kind of where they are and breaking down those barriers that allow them to open up in, ways that they might not normally have opened up before. So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, group number 1. All right, topic 2, best practices. You have a heavy shoe to fill there. So who would like to talk to us from best practices?
Alejandro, do you want me to share the key points?
That'd be great, Amanda, go for it.
And I'm looking at notes. Don't worry, I'm not like Facebooking right now. So one thing was that WWP staff and programs are just a phone call away with hard-hitting topics and can be planned with support in advance for certain things that are going to be in high demand from a mental health perspective. Alejandro reinforced that it's not a clinical group in nature, and that there's follow-on training with the peer leaders. and that maintaining presence virtually has been successful during the COVID era and continuing. That rural areas the WWP staff couldn't get to, the warrior leader role was introduced as a WWP sort of delegate in the communities they can't reach as easily. That once registered, warriors can see peer support group schedule in the post email. And we talked a little about gender specific groups being successful if there's a demand in a particular area. And that a big point was solid vetting and the preparation of peer leaders is key. So that's kind of what I gathered from our group discussion.
That's awesome. They were just you guys' presentation was packed with just great best practice and good tips. I mean, like, I'm gonna have to go through and just like watch it again so I can get everything down. It's like everything you guys said was like best practice tips. It was like great. So we really appreciate all the information. And thank you, Amanda, for summing up group number 2, topic 2. All right, topic 3, volunteer engagement.
I am happy to step in if nobody from group 3 says anything. I will put Abby on the spot though. She was like, not it. But Abby brought up an incredibly good point. We talked a lot about volunteer retention, recruitment, and at the heart of that, Abby mentioned that happy volunteers equal increased retention. And she really focused on ensuring that you take the time to acknowledge those volunteers, the time that they're giving, what they're sharing within their communities, and how they're making an impact. So Abby, I didn't call on you to say anything, but I definitely wanted to highlight that good point that you made. So thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else from our group?
I also took notes. I was tapped in before the meeting started to take notes from the breakout group. So she already mentioned the retention, but also it's really important to not overtrain volunteers because you don't want them to get burnt out and expect too much from them. And as far as active recruitment goes, to keep volunteers engaged and passionate about what they're doing, looking within the organization with people who are already, I think Jackie said, have like a positive footprint in the neighborhood already and in the community already. And so just kind of looking at who already is participating and kind of try to push them that one step further and get them even more engaged. And, veterans always want to help veterans. So it's, you're able to attract that very specific crowd pretty easily.
Wow, that's good information. I know a lot of the questions that came up in registration they were about keeping your volunteers and getting your volunteers going, because I mean that's the key to being able to have these peer-to-peer groups. So guys, thank you. I'm going to send things back to Jeanette for closing, and I appreciate you all today for coming. Go ahead, Jeanette, back to you.
Well, thank you. So Allison and I would like to thank Jackie, Natalie, and Alejandro again for this informative presentation. But before we close, I would like to share with you 2 upcoming opportunities. First of all, AWP is seeking feedback from the veteran community through our annual community integration survey. So please navigate to America's Warrior Partnership website and take the short survey and share the survey link with veterans that you serve. The more veterans that take the survey, the more that we can learn and share. Also, we'd like to make you all aware of our 9th annual Warrior Community Symposium. It's going to be live this year, but I think it's also going to have a virtual component. The symposium will be October 4th through the 6th in Atlanta, Georgia. The early bird registration will begin July 18th. To find more about both of these opportunities, please visit AWP's website. So again, in closing, I'd like to thank all of you, not just our speakers, but all of the rest of you for collaborating and for sharing. Please be aware of our next Battle Rhythm. It will be August 1st, 2020. Our topic will be creating meaningful change for military and veteran families of color. And that will be presented by Blue Star Families. So that sounds really interesting, and we hope that you all can attend that. Here at America's Warrior Partnership, we believe that communities are best equipped to improve the quality of life for veterans. Our goal at AWP is to provide community partners like yourselves with the support you need to help deliver quality service. So thank you all, and have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in August.
Thank you all.
Thank you.